This video highlights some of the features of the MARS Martial Arts Registration System software package. The MARS software can be used at any martial arts training location regardless of the style of martial arts practiced at that location. When you first bring up the MARS software, it guides you into providing parameters to control the software. In this section of parameters, you will identify the rank descriptions pertaining to your style of martial arts. And then you provide some more parameters to further control the software. Let me pick up the demo at this point. Right now, please note that I have entered the software with the password, so I have full access to everything the software can do. In our dojo in Rochester, New York, we have identified the ranking structure for the Aikido style of martial arts. These hours that I've plugged in are only for this demo. These are not the hours we use in our dojo. Some other parameters, for example, are in our dojo, a student becomes inactive after 60 days off. So if someone hasn't shown up for 60 consecutive days, his record becomes inactive. The tryout days we say are 7. So a new student can try out Aikido and our dojo for 7 days without payment. If they wish to continue for 8 or more days, then we expect some form of payment. Now please note this very carefully. The moment you've defined the ranking structure in your style of martial arts, the system does something behind the scenes. It plugs in a whole bunch of dues descriptions automatically into the system. The dues descriptions are for January through December monthly dues, and the other dues descriptions are for test fee dues. The test fee dues for this rank, the test fee dues for this rank, and so on. The rank names, I'm paging down, are directly obtained from what you plugged into option A parameters. These are the rankings that you put into option A parameters, and the system automatically picks up a whole bunch of dues descriptions for those ranks. And the reason for the descriptions is when a dues is received from a student, you can then tie in that dues received for a specific reason. Was it for a monthly dues? If so, which one? Was it for a test fee due? If so, which one? And so on. So the moment you put out your parameters, the system puts out the dues descriptions behind the scenes. Now, having put in the parameters, you can identify a training location into the system. You can identify students into the system, add them, edit them, delete them, and so on. There are checks and balances all over the place. If you ask to delete a student, the system reminds you that the system will have to delete all attendance, ranks, and payments for the student also. You can decide to go ahead, or you can escape and back out, and so on. So lots of checks and balances all over the software. Let's say put in some mat hours. Let's say today I came in and put in 2 hours is recorded. If I now list out my mat hours, that is the latest entry is on top. I came in today for 2 hours, and then you go down the line. You can always page up, page down, and so on. Promotions. You can add promotions into the system as and when students have tested successfully. Dues. A whole bunch of dues descriptions seen before have already been plugged in. So when a dues is received, it can be tied into a description. So because some dues descriptions are already in the system, the only ones you can add, edit, and delete now are user-defined dues descriptions. For example, I'll pick a new code over here and say this is a sensei ABC's seminar fee. It's plugged in. If I now list it out, it's right there. Sensei ABC's seminar fee has come in after the other predefined dues descriptions. Now, having put in a whole bunch of descriptions, let's put in some dues received. For example, today I put down $100 for the year 2020. The moment I go ahead, it asks me for what reason. It brings up the pick list of dues descriptions. So I say, okay, I put down that payment for my NIDA and test fee. Okay, let me put in some a dues description for my friend Mr. Andrews. He put down $50 today for an upcoming Sensei ABC seminar. If I now list out my payments, these are my 2020 payments, my 2019 payments, obviously dummy data. We are not that inexpensive. If I look at Mr. Andrews, his payments, his 2020 payments and his 2019 payments. Now, the 2020 comes out ahead of the 2019 and so on. And within the year, the reason for the payment comes out in sequence of these codes. So the monthly dues payments will come out ahead of the test fee dues paid, if any, and that will come out ahead of the user-defined dues paid. So that's why his record for $50 paid today comes out at this level. It comes out after the monthly dues and the test fee dues. Within 2019, April, before May, before June, and so on. So having put in some dues descriptions and some dues received, let's pull off a report. Here's the report to the screen. Mr. Andrews' payments and his subtotal also shows how many days and hours he put into the system for that year so far. My payment, my subtotal, so many days, so many hours for the year 2020 so far. And these guys have also kicked out, although they have made no payment. Because in our option A parameters, we have said, whoops, I backed out too far. We said that you can try out our dojo for 7 days. If you come in for 8 or more days, we expect payment. And so the dues reports will pull off also all those who have made no payment but have put in 8 or more mat days onto the mat. If you send this report to a text file, you can copy and paste the string of email addresses. These are only for the ones who have not made payment, and you can ask them for payment. Let's pull off a report for 2019. This time we will send it into a text file, and you can word process that file, full screen mode if you wish. This is the 2019 report. You can page up, page down, and as before, the ones who have paid will show up, and obviously, and the ones who have not paid but have put in 8 or more mat days will also show up. At the end of the report, you can copy and paste the string of email addresses because it's in a text file, and you can send them an email saying, hey guys, you owe us some money. Okay, generic reports. Look at a couple of good ones. Potentially inactive students. Who will become inactive in the next 15 days? Send it to a text file. Word process the file, and these guys, these two folks will become inactive in 15 days from today's date. This guy last came in on this date, will become inactive on this date. This guy came in last on this date, will become inactive on that date. And because it's into a text file, you can copy and paste the string of email addresses and encourage them back onto the mat. Contact data for recently inactive. These students have become inactive. They have fallen off the grid, but if they are recently inactive, maybe there's a chance you can encourage them back. So let's pull off all those who became inactive between 60 and 70 days prior to today. Just bring it to the screen for now. These are the folks who became inactive between 60 and 70 days. This guy is 68 days overdue. This guy is 63 days overdue. If you can send this to a text file, you can copy and paste and maybe encourage them to try and come back onto the mat. Option I, utilities. The most important one is the first one, system self-check. You do it as often as you like. You must get this encouraging report that all data cross-checks are okay. The MAS software does a 20 or 21 point cross-check of data to make sure everything is in sync between the parameters file, the locations file, the students file, the dates of attendance, the dates of ranks, and the payments made. So lots of checks and balances throughout the software. Let me come back in again into the system, this time without the password. This is how you want to come into the system during mat time. Always come in without the password. And what this does is, if a student wants to list out the data of somebody else, the student will have no access to personal information because the personal information will show up as asterisks. This is a safety feature especially for female students. So during that time, always come into the software without the password. And notice, without a password you have no access to any data entry. And that's it for now. Thank you for watching.